Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady checking in with a weekly garden tour. We are in the middle of July and everything is vibrant and lush and absolutely beautiful. We've had more than 4 inches of rain this week and right now it's actually kind of overcast and not terribly hot. So let's go ahead and take a stroll around the summer foodscape. This little foundation nook brings me so much happiness, and this pot with the tomato and the bushel and barrel strawberry, that Snowy Belle, just every day I'm more and more entranced by that. And then all of these brilliant, colorful carex. This is from the Ever series, so that is Everillo and Everest and I think Evergold here. They're just such fantastic plants. They offer so much color and texture, and they're evergreen, and they're so much lower maintenance than the shrubs that I had here before. This side of the front porch, you can see Sophia has a little game, and these containers are doing really well. I've just started harvesting tomatoes from these. And the live wall and what I like to call the driveway garden is doing wonderfully. You know, there's a lot of food growing here. So, you know, there's a San Marzano tomato and Rosie Bell strawberry in the pot, Chandler strawberries through there, a bushel and barrel blackberry and raspberry, and then all these different types of rice, which look so great, and I love when they blow in the breeze. So the black one is Black Madres, and this green one is one called Duck from Hancock Seed, and this one is actually from my friend Dewey, and I don't know the cultivar of that. And here we have another great tomato, and this side of the live wall, which was planted back in April, is doing everything that it's supposed to do. I love this view. I love sitting here drinking coffee in the morning. Not everybody can say that about their driveway, but I legit love my driveway. Other container plantings are looking great. They need a lot of water. Terracotta is not the most practical container, but otherwise everything is beautiful. Southside foundation is growing so well. Everything is sort of grown together, but it's at that stage where nothing is like too overgrown. Try to really appreciate these moments where I think the garden looks really organized and to scale, knowing that in a few weeks things are going to be different because a lot more plants will grow. Things get so big in the middle of summer. The Perennial Peninsula is growing. Lots of salvias, veronicas, and agastache planted in here. And I've been happy to see quite a few pollinators enjoying all these baby plants. So with any luck, these will grow out and I'll be able to have this fully converted to a perennial peninsula instead of a self-seeding annual space. This shrub border, I am gonna have Snell Tree come back out and do some major pruning on this tree in advance, just to make sure that, you know, I'm taking the best care possible. And that's gonna really help lighten up some of this bed so that these other plants can grow up a bit more. Now we are in eucomis season, and I'm gonna show you the difference between eucomis that are in quite a lot of shade right here. So this is Eucomis Kamosa Sparkling Burgundy. You see, they call it the pineapple lily for a reason. So the flowers look like tiny pineapples. And I love this with the kind of ground cover of the carex. I think this is a really nice color and texture contrast. But then look at what Eucomis looks like out in full sun. Yes, indeed. That is the same plant, Sparkling Burgundy. This one is planted out here in the driveway culvert. And look at how enormous it is. I think these flowers are just so incredible. And they last forever as cuts. I'm probably gonna bring this in so I can enjoy it every day for several months inside my house. The wave bed. I can't believe how much barley is growing. I did not anticipate this. I'm not offended by it. I'm actually really curious to see if the barley will make it through the summer. But other things are germinating. I've got zucchini, and there are some sunflowers. And I went ahead and added some of the Treasure Island sweet potatoes just in case those Seminole pumpkins don't germinate. I don't have total faith that the seeds I sowed were fully mature. So I figured to make sure I have a ground cover in here, I put this dark leaf ornamental edible sweet potato from the Treasure Island series. The tropical front bed is growing in. Again, it has a lot more barley than I anticipated. But that's okay. If it doesn't die, I can just weed it out. What I think is gonna happen is that these summer annuals are just gonna out-compete it, and then it'll get shaded and die down. But time will tell. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks. Here's some more eucomis blooming. Again, in more shade over here. See, there's the sweet summer Hydrangea paniculata. And I'm so impressed with this cinnamomum. This is really the first year that it's done really exceptionally good, and all of that new growth. It's so beautiful. When the sun shines through it, it's like looking through stained glass. More Treasure Island sweet potatoes growing back there. They're doing really well considering how much shade this area is now. Speaking of shade, under this live oak is really quite dark, but the echinacea and phlox have done so well. And look at that beautiful black swallowtail butterfly. It's so nice to see butterflies floating around the garden now. It's really starting to have a lot. The north side, I got this mulched, kind of cleaned up a bit, and you can see that the blood lilies, the Cyadoxus, are in flower. I think everything looks good with that variegated Carex. And coming along here into the backyard, I think it's really looking quite beautiful and lush. These lilies have been magnets for butterflies, and putting down the Chapel Hill grit makes a world of difference. You can see we got this pathway done this week, and of course here's where all of those recently potted tomatoes are. And then in this bed, which I did 2 weeks ago today, you can totally see how the asparagus has grown right back from being mowed down. And you can see that the arugula very successfully is self-sown. And then there's more sweet potatoes from the Treasure Island series here, along with tithonia and bananas. This is the hardy Musa velutina. And then I have seeded in a bunch of sunflowers. So this bed is gonna look great. It's gonna be colorful and bold. And here you can see the asparagus coming out, growing. I'm not harvesting these at this stage. I'm gonna let them regenerate so they can photosynthesize. I think the greenhouse is my next favorite place in the garden. I'm obsessed with, you know, everything here. All the plantings on the outside. I've managed to get inside cleaned up. This is what I have left to plant. Not that much. I'm gonna get it done tonight. But I cleaned up and potted up some of the cuttings that had stuck back in May. And I got a new round of cuttings put in, including a lot of hydrangeas and some camellias and a handful of coleus, some plectranthus. I love that the cucumbers have taken a hold on the greenhouse. They're growing so efficiently. And this corn is crazy tall, and there's lots of ears. This is Bloody Butcher, so I don't eat this fresh. I grow this to dry, to grind into grits. I can't get over how big they've gotten being in these 100-gallon root pouches. And there's lots of tomatoes here, but really the cucumbers are the most impressive thing. And what's great about having them attached to the greenhouse is that, you know, they can be hard to spot. But the cool thing is you can see them from this angle, and they're really easy to identify. Fruit there, 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 up there, here. So I come in here and I check out the cucumbers, and then I go out and harvest. And you see they are actually climbing over to the other side. I am so thrilled. I hope that this greenhouse will be completely covered by cucurbits in time for the tomato tasting. The powder blue blueberries are doing so well. I just harvested a whole bunch yesterday, but I need to come back out, harvest more. They are so delicious. Oh my goodness. The succulent fire pit. This is a new one to the collection. My friend Preston Montague gave me. This is Bad Hair Day, another type of mangave. And that Echeveria senecio combo from Big Bloomers is absolutely my favorite thing in the whole world. And all of these tomatoes are doing really well in containers, starting to really produce quite a bit. Just a few starting to ripen over here. And I'm pleased to see new growth on these eggplants and peppers. It really is amazing how fast things grow at this time of year. You can see I got the diseased tomatoes out and replaced with, this is Bonnie's Best in pots. And the Tower Garden tomatoes are doing very well. And back here we have some rice in a pot with no holes. And then my favorite pots this year are these combos of Cordellini and Agapanthus and that bright pink impatiens, which I wouldn't ordinarily think I would like, but it's really, I think, fun and dynamic. Of course, the succulents on the back patio are doing really well, and the succulent table's filled in great. I love all the different colors and textures, and this weekend we actually had the sweetest little tree frog hanging out in here. I'm pleased to see that the sorghum is starting to go to seed. This is a nice variety. It's really short compared to some of the other cultivars I've grown. And in here, you see the sweet potatoes growing well and the okras. The peppers are the only thing that look, I think, really bad. I think that was an early copper deficiency and they just haven't grown out of it. I'm just not having a good pepper year this year. I didn't have good germination of my own seed, and these are plants I bought. And you can see how terrible they look. But everything else is doing good. Like the zucchini there and these peanuts. So the feed tank bed is really starting to grow. You can see all the peanuts that I sowed last week, and there are zinnias germinating, and sunflowers, and okra. So in a matter of weeks, this will be really lush and full, and I sure have been enjoying cooling off in the feed tank. Yes, this is chlorinated, It also has a pump and a filter. We treat it just like a normal swimming pool, and we do share it with frogs. And nope, the frogs don't seem to be affected at all by the chlorine. This feed trough bed is doing really well. See, I have to be doing some staking soon between the blackberry and all of the different tomatoes and the zucchini that are kind of pouring out through. And lots of sweet potatoes planted here along with okra and peppers. These okra have really started to take off, so I think these will probably be the first to fruit for me. Over to my work area, I've made a lot of progress. I am just about done with my soil cube bag, and my next step will be to re-grit all of this space. It'll make a world of difference. And all of these containered plants are doing well, easy access to a hose. And you can see here the persimmons have actually set fruit. So that is kind of exciting to see. This is the first year that I'll have fruit on this weeping hybrid persimmon that I got from an IPPS plant auction. I think the bed I'm most excited to show you is this one that I did just over a week ago. This was planted 8 days ago. And I can't believe how the buckwheat is performing. It's just popping out and looking amazing. The grafted tomatoes are doing really well. I've been harvesting quite a bit from those. And this is just another bed that I need to re-gravel. And I'll be doing that this week. I'm thrilled already with all of this germination. I was a little heavy-handed with the buckwheat, but I can always edit it as needed. So it'll be cool to see what else germinates in that massive mix of seeds that I put out. Of course, this is one of my favorite spots right now. This rose is perfectly placed so that you can have a sniff. It smells exactly like what a rose should smell like. Here is the new pathway that I'm going to be working on. I want this to cut through into this border that I've never really spent much time and energy on. It's quite shady and it's very wet. And you see I've got some volunteer pumpkins, which I'm hoping that this is a Seminole pumpkin because I haven't had good germination so far. And I'm so excited to see that I already have gourds. I love gourds. I can't help it. I think they're awesome. And these are just like the cutest things ever. Self-sowers. I really can't get over how inviting the woods is now that that big water oak is gone, and none of the plants have suffered from the brighter exposure. So I'm really excited to get this new grading project underway and extend some space into this woodland and be able to grow a bit more. I want to clear it all. I just, want to have a buffer. They're going to build a road behind there at some point. And here's the happiest cow lily that I've ever grown. This is Xanadacia aethiopica white giant. And this year, it's been flowering nonstop since April. And some of the blooms were actually as tall as me. They were actually a little taller than me. So I wonder if this one will keep stretching. You can see I dumped a bunch of old compost there and just piled in some broken pots to hold it in place. I'm sure that's contributing to its level of happiness. You can see in here, this is where we're going to grade and gravel first. Kind of extend a work area into this woods. And this outside of the fence bed is doing great. The gladiolus are starting to flower. The zinnias have been blooming. The sunflowers are setting buds. It's really gonna be exquisite. And that low fence is totally doing its job. So you can see nothing has been eaten inside of there. Okay, I know that animals could step over it. They just don't. Now, they've been nibbling on tomatillas right here on the edge. Right there on the edge. But nothing inside is disturbed, including the peanuts that I, put this in for that very purpose, to protect the peanuts. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's garden tour. It was a pleasure to share with all of you what the garden's looking like now that we're in the middle of July. I'm sending you all the best. I appreciate that you watch these garden tours and keep up, and I look forward to coming back next week and showing you how the Foodscape has evolved.